All right, ladies and gentlemen, friends and family, I am here today with my good friend William Geza, doctor. How you doing?
Good, Wes. How you doing?
Good. Thanks for being here with me. So, it is February 9th, 2024. We are here in Widgeon Point Preserve.
Yes.
In Bluffton, South Carolina?
Buford. South of the Broad River Bridge.
We've got an amazing view here. We got Spring Island, we got Paris Island, we got a lot going on. It is the day before your birthday. Hey there.
Yes.
How you doing?
Doing well.
We're
Sorry about that.
No, you're all right. You're all right. No, not interrupting at all. It's live and in action. So, William Geza, doctor. Everybody I meet, I like to ask two questions. One, what was your first car?
First car was the first car I had was, I really had it. It was strictly for my grandfather's farm, which was a 1932 Chevrolet 5-window coupe. My first car on the road was a 1955 Ford four-door sedan.
Man, what a time. I'll grab some pictures from Google and clip them up so they see what we're talking about. That's the first question I like to ask. Those are two amazing answers, actually. And then second question is, I'm 24. If you could go back in time and see yourself at 24, what advice would you give yourself from what you know now?
Well, funny you should ask, Wes. But looking back, there's a lot of things I would do different. I really would. One, we've talked about many times.
Mm-hmm.
One, I would have finished college. I wouldn't have dropped out of college.
Mm-hmm.
Two, although we got married young, we've had a great relationship. In fact, in October of this year, Linda and I will be married 60 years. So it's been quite a run. So I don't regret that one bit. But I would have done things differently. But I've had a wonderful career. I traveled throughout the world. I met a lot of nice people. I can't say anything bad about my career. It was really wonderful.
And to the people who don't know, you worked for Newsbank.
I worked for a company called Newsbank. We were a publishing company, and our main office was located in Naples, Florida, and we also had offices in New Canaan, Connecticut, and also in Chester, Vermont.
You worked for them for?
I worked for them I retired from them after just about 37 years. It was an excellent opportunity. I have to stop and think. I retired actually in December 31st of 2018, and so it's only been 5 years now that I have been retired. I actually didn't retire until I was 74. It was a great job. I always worked out of my house when I wasn't traveling, but when I traveled, no matter where it was, I'd be gone for 2 to 3 weeks at a time. And so it was kind of difficult on my wife. Obviously, when I was away like that, we were living in Kalawasi Island at the time, which is only a short distance from where we are right now. It was a beautiful place, and she felt secure there, and had a lot of good friends there. And now we live in Sun City over in Bluffton, which is quite a change from living in Kalawasi. But it's very nice where we live. We have a nice small home. And that's taking a lot of adjustment to go from a big house to a small house. But anyways, we're adjusting well. We did that mainly to having to take care of Les, and also gives us a lot more time for traveling and meeting with our friends and family. Family, of course, comes first. But anyways.
So it's been 5 or 6 years now that you've been retired almost?
I retired 5 years ago on December 31st.
Does it feel like it?
Oh, I love it.
Yeah.
What am I going to do today? One of the things I've done differently than a lot of people is I keep busy. I keep busy all the time. Linda and I are on the go a lot, sometimes just going out to do errands. Other times it's out to visit friends or out to dinner or whatever. But I like keeping busy. I do my own mowing of my lawn. Even at tomorrow, I'll be 80 years old. And anyhow,
That's crazy.
I like being outdoors, no matter what. I enjoy, as I said, mowing my lawn, taking care of my trees and shrubs in my yard. And anyways, that's my fun and enjoyment.
Yeah, we were talking.
And I'm also doing a lot of crossword puzzles. And also Sudoku.
Yeah.
And so I keep busy between crossword puzzles, Sudoku, and being out and about around town or elsewhere.
Yeah, staying sharp, sharpening the saw. Because we were talking earlier, if you don't piddle, you kind of crumble.
That's for sure. And I see that really in other people. Even the people who live on our street, and our good friends. I mean, sometimes they're housebound all the time. I never see them out, and I wonder what they do.
Yeah, it's so easy nowadays,
yes.
though.
In fact, we have a rule, not a rule in our house. I have a rule that, I never turn TV on until 4 o'clock in the afternoon, if I even turn it on at that time, but never turn it on earlier. So we don't watch anything at all during the daytime. We also, when we do watch television, we enjoy sports, enjoy especially golf, and I'm a baseball fan, and so I'm glad that the new season's starting here pretty quickly. Also, we like YouTube. We watch a lot of YouTube, a lot of interesting, a lot of educational things on YouTube. But we also we particularly are interested in off-road, or off the grid, I guess you can say.
Off-grid.
Living.
Yeah, Drew Sims, Epic Family Road Trip,
Yeah,
those
that's
guys.
it. It's interesting to see how they live, and they have wonderful lives. Anyways, we've done back in 2019. Linda and I took a 5-week trip across the United States. We went out to California, up the coast of California, which we've done before, but we've never actually driven across. That was the first time. And it was just a wonderful trip, and we could have stayed out there a few weeks longer, but our house sitter had other things to do. Our grandson actually babysat for our cat for 5 weeks while we were traveling.
Mm-hmm.
And anyways, but it was wonderful. We got to see parts of the United States that I'd only see sitting in a window seat of an airplane looking down and thinking that this is, I like to see these little out-of-the-way places at some time in my life, and we did. We went to a lot of the national parks, Sequoia, Zion, Bryce, Yellowstone, not Yellowstone, Yosemite. In fact, one of our goals yet is to go to Yellowstone, and we have not done that. We did plan it for 2 years ago, but Linda wasn't feeling well at the time, so we had to cancel out. But that's still on my bucket list, the Yellowstone Glacier. But there's just so many wonderful places here in the United States, and I firmly believe that of all the traveling I've done around the world, and I've done a lot of it many times, not just once, but the United States is probably my favorite place to live and travel.
Amen, brother.
Yeah, it's a wonderful place, and anyways, I'm glad I've enjoyed it for the last almost 80 years, and hopefully many more years to come.
So I just watched a YouTube video recently about this book called The Turning, or The Fourth Turning, and it's about how time works in history blocks of 80 years. It's called a saclium, something like that.
Okay.
And you've lived through that. That was your saclium. So you came up in 44, and you've gone through some interesting time periods in the U.S. and around the world, actually. And shoot, you've been all around the world too.
I have.
Can you name off some of the countries that you have traveled to for?
Yes, South America, Europe, Australia, many places in Asia, China,
Asia.
Thailand, Vietnam. I've been to Vietnam twice, including twice in Saigon, and once in Hanoi, and not during the military, not during the conflict, the Vietnam War, but for business purposes.
Quote unquote.
Yeah, and Canada, again, I think I said South America already.
Yeah.
But,
So you've crossed almost all the continents.
yeah, I
then.
have, and I've actually done 2 complete world trips, both at one time. I did one both eastbound and one westbound, so that was pretty interesting to be able to cross the world twice in one business trip, stopping along into many countries as I traveled. And so it was fascinating, it really was. And it's interesting to meet the people and see how they live and the differences. And I'll tell you, it was really a wonderful experience. And that's, again, looking back at my career, I mean, how many people, in fact, I can tell you this for a fact. I know a couple of doctors I have gone to here locally, and both of them are envying me for all the traveling I do and the wonderful places I have visited over the years. And anyways.
Yeah, that's not, it is amazing because not many people get paid to travel.
That's for sure. I actually have traveled the United States a lot as well.
You used to drive for work also.
I used to drive a lot. When we lived, I grew up in Connecticut, Guilford, Connecticut, and we moved to Florida in 1983. Lived in Longwood, Florida, and I used to travel out to Georgia, Alabama, Mississippi, Louisiana, Arkansas, Tennessee,
And you're in sales at that point?
I was in sales. Also, again, that's where I started my career with Newsbank. And anyways, so I traveled a lot by car and certainly a lot by air over the many years.
Sell me this pen. what would be your biggest advice to somebody wanting to get into sales, actually?
Well, you have to want to do it.
Mm-hmm.
You have to have I always tell people, a lot of people find rejection difficult, and that's one of the things that you find with anybody in sales. But you have to kind of, I don't know. I find the best way is really to build a relationship with the people that you're dealing with, and that's really important. From there, it's a lot easier. But when you first time somebody says no,
you feel it a little more than the 100th time.
Yeah, so you want to hide somewhere. But actually, you have to let that kind of run off your shoulders. I always say you can't let that, a negative,
one single interaction.
Yeah, exactly. So, but anyways, so I've traveled a lot in the United States as well. And when I moved to Florida for Newsbank, we lived in Florida from 1983 to 1994. And then we moved up to South Carolina, which is where we currently live. And we've been here since 1994. And it's really a wonderful place. Buford, a lot of history here. And of course, I'm from Guilford, Connecticut, and there's a lot of history in Guilford. Guilford was founded in 1639. And so it goes back, it's one of the oldest states in the country, the Union. And anyways, it was just a wonderful place. I grew up on a street where most homes were dated back to the 1800s. We had a couple in the 1700s, and we even had an octagon house on our street, which is rather unusual. But Guilford was a wonderful place to grow up. I still have many friends back there. In fact, every year, Linda and I drive up to Connecticut and spend a few weeks. And I still have friends up there that I grew up with from time where our parents, our mothers, pushed us around the town green in a stroller. So some of these friends of mine I've known for well over 70 years. Anyhow.
That's crazy. Yeah, so from Guilford to Florida to South Carolina. Can we backtrack to, let's talk about that Guilford life and that first 24-year block. What do you remember from that time period?
A lot of things.
I remember a story about this man and his friends throwing glass bottles into the road.
Well, that wasn't me.
Call them out. Put it on tape.
It's on. No, that was my two good friends.
I plead the fifth. Don't say their name.
It wasn't, but the things that we did back then were minor compared to what things do today. I mean, our parents didn't have to worry about us. I mean, I remember even as youngsters, 10 and 12 years old, we could ride our bikes down into the town green of Guilford, which was probably a couple miles from our house, and we'd be gone most of the day and ride back home, and our parents would feel perfectly safe. That's just the way it was. Today, obviously, you can't do that anywhere in the United States, including Guilford, Connecticut. Things have changed. So it was just I call it a Leave It to Beaver type of family program. For those who remember Leave It to Beaver,
I don't.
You don't. But anyways, it was a time. I think it was probably one of the best times to live in the United States. I think the 50s and 60s, early 60s were really probably the best times to live in the United States. Late 60s, drugs started were being more prevalent and easy to get a hold of, so there was a lot of issues there. We had the Vietnam War, and a lot of things changed, and it's just a tough place to live these days. There's so many things going on. Every day there's shootings, there's just hijackings, people being murdered, and people don't care. They have this don't care attitude. So I don't know. I mean, Wes is my grandson. He's 24 years old. I also have he has a sister who is 21.
About to be
21.
In May, yeah.
About to be 21. And I have another grandson, Zach, who just turned 20. So, but anyways, I feel sorry for them growing up. It's a very difficult time here in the United States, and I have no idea what it's going to be like for their families when they get married and have kids. Hopefully things will be better. But right now, I don't know. It's a changed world. It's not just here in the United States, but the whole world has changed.
On that topic, in regard to your grandchildren's future, and I asked what advice you would give yourself at your age, or at my age. What advice would you leave to us in this scary new world that nobody knows what's going to happen?
Well, certainly be honest. Be hardworking. Working hard is, it doesn't mean just physically hard work, but mentally hard. Be yourself, like I was mentioning.
And being honest.
Yeah.
With yourself and other people.
Yeah, with yourself and other people. It's hard because the future, as you know, I don't know if I'm going to be here for the 90th birthday, and so that's your future's unknown. It really is. You can only say that you hope things get better, which I certainly do, for not only you and Bug and Zach, but for everyone.
Shoot, we'll see.
We'll see what happens. Really, this is really a wonderful place to live. It really is. I think, looking back over the years, here's something. I was watching a program the other night. I can't even think of the name of it, but it was a documentary. It was talking about the Indian reservations, and we displaced these people. So we took over we pushed them out of their homes. So we did things that obviously should never have happened. And so we're not perfect by
Far
any
from
means.
it.
Far from it is right. I can only, can we learn from our lessons? Hopefully we can. There's, we have to, look back and look at the things that were negative and, an embarrassment or whatever, and change things. You can, my son has a favorite saying, "It is what it is," and I hate to hear that because it's not. It is what it is. It is what you want to make it.
Oh.
You can, you can change things. You can change your way you act. You're not no longer being yourself, but there's a lot of things you can do to make changes. So you don't have to, things don't have to. So it is what it is. It's not a saying I like it. Yeah, it's not what I like to hear, because there are things that are, as bad as things may be, you can improve yourself. But you got to be willing to do it. You really do. If you just think, I think that one of the big things today is everyone wants everything, and I think there's a huge population here in the United States that don't have everything. Not everyone has money, and I think there's a lot of that has a lot to do with it. It really is the demographics, and there's a lot of poor people in this world, a lot of poor people in the United States, but anyways, I think make the most of what you have, and help others. There's a lot of things you can do. I'll have to admit, I really don't volunteer. I've thought about it many times, and I still might yet do that. I hope I will. So, helping others is maybe one way of doing it. Listening to people.
What?
What's that?
Just kidding.
Yes. But no, listening to others, what people have to say. And then, take that and, think about it, what you've heard. And I'm sure it's not all going to be the same. It's going to be a lot of different types of information. And, put together, what you can do to make things better. And so I like to be positive. I'm not optimist. I'm not a pessimist by any means. I like to think positive about my life. I said I dropped out of college. I've had a great career, and so I didn't let dropping out of college, get in my way.
Not at all. Big house on the river, 3 kids, Corvettes. Come on, man.
Anyways, it's you can, again, there's things that you can do. It really is, and I hope everyone feels that way. At least I like to think they do.
Hey, that's good advice for me, Bug, and Zach, and our generation. We're running short on time with the tape on my card, so I'd like to ask one more question. Is there any kind of shout out you want to do?
Well, a shout out I should give really is to my parents and my grandparents. And, they brought me into the world, and, I had a very good bringing up. We had a small house in Dover, Connecticut. My father was basically he was a mechanic most of his life, and so we didn't have a lot of things that other people had. But I never really thought that way. I thought we had everything. But anyways, my parents. I've never had. There's never nothing I can think of that I'd never say anything negative about my parents. My father was a wonderful person. My mother was a wonderful person. Both my grandparents were wonderful people. Although I will say, my mother's father, he was a borderline. From what I understand, and I only know him, he died actually when I was, I'd say he died around 1953, so I was pretty young at the time. I don't really remember much about him, but from what I understand, he was a gambler, and his family probably didn't have the things that they needed because my grandfather was a gambler. So, you know, we had some issues in our own, and they had issues back then as well. But they all worked through them because, again, my mother turned out wonderful, my father turned out wonderful, and our kids are all wonderful.
Talk about your mother and your father, and you know, where they came from, you know, how they were to you guys.
Well, both my parents actually dropped out of school. That's the way things were back then.
Mm-hmm.
My father was born in 1913, my mother was born in 1915, and just a lot of kids did that back then, and so it wasn't unusual.
Mm-hmm. And what's their nationality? They come. You got some Hungarian in you, right?
Yes, I do. My father was Hungarian. The name Doctor, which is spelled D-O-K-T-O-R, which is my last name. First name is William, but I do go by Bill.
Bill, like $100.
That's it. But anyways, my father was Hungarian, and there was also German in our family as well.
That's right.
My mother was Italian, a northern Italian, which is completely different than a southern Italian. You know, spaghetti and meatballs wasn't necessarily on our menu every night. We were a meat and potatoes sort of family. So there is a difference between a northern and a southern Italian. But anyhow, and I've been to just, you know, I told you I was traveling the world. Well, I've been to Italy many times, which my parents, my mother had never had that opportunity. And I also was in Budapest once.
Wow.
And my father never had the opportunity to go to Hungary or Budapest. But I did. So anyhow.
Interesting.
Anything else?
Shoot, we can go on and on and on. Actually, I figure even if this does die, we're recording, so I could just take a picture and throw it up over there with some NBA highlights or something if we run out of tape on the card. But yeah, I don't know. Is there anything else that?
Well, I wish I was a better golfer. I was a golf member for 20 some odd years. And, the only reason I gave it up, I've also had back problems. I still do have back problems. I've had both my knees replaced. I had one replaced in 2015, the other one 2016, which helps. But I think my golf clubs are in my garage, and they're probably going to stay there.
Better than taking up space in the back of a Corvette.
That's correct. And by the way, I am a car guy, and we didn't talk about that, but I have had.
Oh yeah, how could I forget?
I have had a ton of new cars in my life. I've had my car. I as a kid, I always. The first time I saw a 1953 Corvette, I fell in love with that car, and I always said someday I'm going to have one. Well, the first one I bought was when I was 49. I bought a brand new 1994 red Corvette. It was beautiful. I loved that. And to me, the best part of owning that car, and I wasn't one who really sped around driving it fast. I just enjoyed having it. And I used to love taking it on. When we lived in Florida, I drove it up to a summer sales meeting in Vermont twice. And there was nothing better than getting on 95 and just cruising along and driving that. So that was my first. Although I had a BMW before that, which was really nice as well. But the Corvette was something I always wanted, and I finally did buy one. I did have a second Corvette. I had a 2005
C6 silver.
Yeah, silver. Beautiful car. I also enjoyed driving that just on the highway. It's just a fun car to drive.
I've got glimpses of that in my memory, I feel like.
I also had a 350Z I bought new in 2004. Actually got it in 2003. Another nice car. Really enjoyed that. And one car I didn't talk about Because in 1992, I bought a Dodge Stealth.
Yeah, we've talked
I
about
almost
that.
forgot about that. That was a
It's a niche car right
yeah,
there.
it was actually a Mitsubishi 3000 in Dodge clothes. And anyways, but it was a really nice car, and that was the first real sports car I had. And I've had a lot of others. I told Wes I'm in the process of putting together a collection of all the new cars I've had in my life.
Which, how many do you think? What's the estimate? You got to have done the math over the years.
It's well over 20. I know that.
20. It's well over 20.
Well over 20 new cars. I've had a lot of them. Volvos alone, I've had 4. I had a 70 and a 71. I had a 87 wagon and 91 wagon.
You had a few Beetles, your
I've
Volkswagen
had a
for a
bunch
little
of
while.
Beetles. I've had a lot of Volkswagens.
Forerunners, you had a Forerunner phase.
Five Forerunners, 95 and 98, 2001, 2004, and 2021. So yeah, they add up. Maybe it might be 30 new cars.
There's like 40.
So anyways, quite a few. And anyways, I don't drink, don't smoke, so my pleasure goes into buying cars that I enjoy driving. Well, right now, actually, coming down here to this Widgeon Park, I'm driving my 2016 Chevrolet Colorado, so that's far from being a pleasure to drive, but it's transportation.
Yeah. All right. Well, thanks for taking the time with me today. It's been a pleasure.
Yes,
Glad I finally got
Yes.
to get you on here.
yeah. This has been a pleasure, it really is, and can't ask for a better location to do this.
Yeah. We're about to head back to Mom and Nana at the house in Sun City.
They probably wonder where we are.
Yeah, they probably are. We haven't told them what we're doing. It's been a little while. They said don't come back for an hour.
Well,
It's been about 2.
about 2 hours.
We don't want them to worry, but shout out to them. We love you guys. Man, I love you also.
Yeah, love
Thanks
you
for
too,
coming on the
Wes.
pod.
Thank you.
We'll see what comes of this. Guys, if I had to leave you with anything on top of what he said, I would say there's 2 quotes. One was one, and I forgot it. Second one is that if you do what you like what you do. Doesn't matter what it is. It doesn't have to be your job necessarily, but if you do that what you like, you will like the life in the
And do it well.
in the things you do, and do it well to the best of your ability.
That's it.
All right, y'all. Thanks for tuning in. Y'all have a good one, and we'll see you in the next one. People get bored with one angle. They won't
Right.
actually watch it. So unless you cut it and crop it,